Hello, and welcome to SDVoE Live. I'm your host, Justin Kennington, and this is TV for Pro AV. We have another exciting episode for you today entitled It's 1 p.m. Do you know where your network is? More and more AV systems, of course, are moved onto the IT network today, and that comes with it its own new set of challenges, right? 20 years ago, when the screen went black, we knew where to troubleshoot, we knew where to check, we knew where to find these problems. But now that not only is control on the network, but audio and video itself moves across the network, what are the tools and techniques that are available for us to be able to troubleshoot problems as they come up? Our special guest today is Alicia Henley. She's a network engineer and also does a lot of interesting work in the media space in AV, so we're going to chat with her about some of her experiences troubleshooting networks. We're also going to introduce my co-host Matt Dodd, who will show you a little preview of some SDVoE Academy courses on the subject of network troubleshooting. But before we get to that, I want to let you know that this is our very first broadcast that's coming to you live, not only inside the SDVoE Academy, but also live on Twitter. And for the first time, we are live on YouTube. So those of you joining us on YouTube live today, hello and welcome. I want to make the note that we will have an after show after the 30 minutes of programming is finished. So stick around if you're here with us in Academy. If you're on YouTube or Twitter, make sure you make your way to the SDVoE Academy when the credits roll, and you'll be able to watch the after show there too. That is where we will answer your questions live. So if you're in the Academy, just look for the chat box down there below my feet, or look for the QR code that pops in and out of the screen over there. Point your phone at that, and it will take you directly to the chat inside the SDVoE Academy from wherever you are. Or find us on Twitter at hashtag SDVoE Live. So with all of that out of the way, and without further ado, I'm going to hand this off to Matt over in our classroom, who's going to show you a little bit about network troubleshooting techniques.
Hello everybody, it's your favourite English chap here, Matt Dodd. Good to see you all. Yes, here we are, still in the SDVoE house. It's a bit of a grey day out there, but hey, we're going to make it sunshiny in here. This is going to be a great show. Alicia's fantastic. She's really smart, she's really cool, she's just amazing. So we're going to have a lot of fun chatting away to her. But before we do that, what we've got on Academy is 2 courses already there for Introduction to Network Troubleshooting. And what we've done is we've just pulled together a little snippet, a 3-minute clip, if you will, a clipette of those 2 videos, those 2 courses that you can see on the resource link down here somewhere, and you can head off after the show and go and see them. But for now, let's take a little look at the snippet, see what you think. You'll like this one, it's quite funny. How many times have you taken a call from a client to tell you that something isn't working? These calls can go one of 2 ways. It could go like this. Hello, Matt speaking.
Hi Matt, it's Philip here.
Hi, Philip.
Are you well?
Yes, very well indeed, thank you.
Excellent. Sorry to disturb you, but yeah, just having a few problems here, and I'm sure there's something silly and more than likely something that we've actually done. Any chance you could swing by, take a quick look?
Yes, of course.
And then, hey, while you're here, let's pop out for lunch.
Oh, wonderful.
It'd be great to see you.
Yes, and you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll see you in a bit.
But let's face it, it rarely goes like that, because it usually goes like this. Hello, Matt speaking.
Matt, Philip here. Yes, nothing works, never has. Nothing's ever worked since it was all put in. No, never ever worked. Very disappointed, and it's the end of the world for us.
This course will introduce you to the basic tools you need to equip yourself with before attempting any troubleshooting, as well as show you some common techniques which help you to get to the root of the problems more efficiently. In the Importance of Network Designs video, we identified the single biggest cause of network failure as being people. Now, this doesn't mean we can automatically blame the customer for anything going wrong, especially on the network. But it does reinforce the importance of making sure the network which you deploy your SDVoE system on is thoroughly designed and documented. Now that we've familiarised ourselves with a typical interface from the troubleshooting software, let's take a closer look at some of the most common network problems which can occur with video distribution. The first being a network loop. SDVoE receivers often include a 1 gig network port for attaching other devices. Now, if this port is somehow connected back into the switch, a network loop will be introduced and that will shut the entire network down. Remember, the 1 gig LAN port is designed to be a useful utility to connect hosts locally adjacent to the receiver. But under absolutely no circumstances must this port be connected back into the same network which is providing the stream. If the network appears to be frozen, disconnect anything connected to the 1G ports, and if everything comes back online, the problem points to a network loop. The next issue that you might face is devices not being detected on your network. You open the control software after powering everything up, and some devices do not register in the API as expected, which means they aren't showing up on the user interface.
Matt, the phone
fancy
call bit.
Fancy seeing you here in the SDVoE house. How are you, sir?
Wonderful, thank you. I'm sorry for cutting off your opening there, but the phone call bit in that piece cracks me up every time. I'm sure we've all gotten that phone call of the highly reasonable, highly under control customer whose network is broken and has nothing bad to say about you at all for it.
No. Interestingly, I did have a customer, I had both of those customers. I used to have a customer called Kiri Kiaku. Bless him, if you're out there and you're watching this for whatever reason, hi. You think you still owe me a couple of grand, but we'll let that go. But he was so lovely. He would always insist that when you get here a bit early, we'll get everything done and we'll go out for lunch, and he would buy us all lunch. But then there was just one. Everyone else was the second guy. How's things been for you this last couple of weeks? We've got a great show tonight. I'm really looking forward to it, actually. It's Alicia's really cool, really cool.
Yes, for sure. And I think that the topic of network troubleshooting is a hot one, right? It's a lot of what drives the AV professionals' reticence around AV over IP is, well, am I going to be okay if something goes wrong? Am I going to know what to do?
There's I've got a surprise for you later as well. I've got a surprise for all of you, but I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. So yeah, you'll like the surprise. It's pretty cool. Shall we get on with some news?
Oh, good. What have you got this time?
Well, this is a great piece, right? I've got 2 little kids. You've got 3 little kids, and a lot of you guys out there have probably got little kids yourself, grown-up kids. What do my kids teach me about IT? Where do we start? Where do we stop with this? We could talk about this for a long time, but my son is 4 years old and he is absolutely proficient at using an iPad. He's all over it at 4 years old. But in actual fact, as a guy who has, we create videos, we create educational videos, this warms me a little bit because I think, well, hold on a minute. As long as we're moderating what he's watching, then he's actually learning some really good content and it's helping him to progress in school. And that's slightly off topic, but the very nature of the fact that he's getting familiarised with the panels, the touch panels, we make a point of talking about how it's made, the technology behind it, and he's always interested when a tool bag comes out, for example. So yeah, it's gone mad. How about you? What do you take away from this, and how's it for you with your little ones?
My little kids, what they taught me about IT is keep the IT locked away until after bedtime, just for simplicity's sake. What I noticed in the article, what struck me as most interesting, actually, the way I read the article, the author kind of put it away as an introductory point and then went into several bullets that you can can read in the link below. But he said that one of his children has autism, and he has to think about how to communicate with someone that communicates in a very different way than is natural and comfortable to the father.
Yeah.
And he kind of drew a little bit of an analogy to how AV can interact with IT. But these are, you know, the father and his son are both humans. They both have brains.
Humans?
They just, you know, think and communicate in a little bit different way. And that's kind of the same story with AV and IT, right? We're two sides of the same coin a little bit, but communicate with different vocabularies, with different language. And being able to be the person that bridges the gap between those two is extremely valuable, obviously, in a parenting relationship, but in a professional context where you need to merge these two kinds of technologies. I thought that was the best analogy of the piece.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Please, you guys out there, thanks again for joining us once more to the SDVoE Live. Please give us your thoughts. Throw it in the chat there. Let's hear what you've got to say. Also, if I just think really hard, I think we might be able to find a QR code above my head. About here. There it is. You can use that QR code and you can chat on your mobile device and put us in full screen, full Technicolor. How about that? Full Technicolor, and use your mobile to chat. Whatever next, you know, we're teaching these guys about IT. So, speaking of IT, AV is IT, Justin. Did you know that?
Yeah, I knew that, and I think a lot of people know that.
Yeah, did you know
that?
But
it's a challenging statement to make, right? And Scott Tyner, who wrote the piece, kind of said to himself, "Well, of course AV is IT, but why would anyone think that it's not?" Right? And he pointed to, I think, a history that maybe we've all felt. Of a little bit of, I usually like stirring up controversy on this show. That's not what I mean to do right now, but a history of almost, to the degree that AV relates to IT, AV feels disrespected by IT, like, oh, that's just, you know, the AV junk, and we've got this high-end IT equipment. But as Scott points out, and I really agree, I think a lot of that has gone away. And the right way to think about AV is what is IT? Information technology, right? And AV is just moving information in a certain kind of way through audio and video signals. So for me, it's important to understand that the AV industry is an outgrowth or a subsection of information technology, right? We're the folks who are experts in presentation on screens and in an auditory environment. Experts on the user experiences created by those things, you know, whether that means a fancy augmented reality roller coaster or just a really nice, easy to use conference room.
That sounds good.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with calling AV a part of IT. I think it's important to understand that they're related.
Do you know, just to add to that, Simon makes some great points in his piece. It's all boils back to education for me, you know. It's that. And we're doing a great job here in the SDVoE Alliance to really help people to close that gap, that knowledge gap between what they've always been known and what they've known and been comfortable with in AV traditionally. And now as we move into what we call IT, and we often associate IT, of course, with data networks. And, you know, now that people are kind of almost being forced to gain the knowledge that they need, to be more confident when they're talking to IT people and IT departments, it makes a huge difference. So, yeah, whether we like it or not, AV is IT, and that's the way it's moving forward. So, talking of moving forward, and what a great segue, Justin, tell me who this lady is. Introduce our guest before we bring her in.
Alicia is someone I met maybe 2 years ago. She works not only as a network engineer, but also as a journalist, and was writing a piece related to AV and IT and interviewed me. And we had such a fun time talking that we've kept in touch ever since. And when we decided to put this show on, I knew she'd make a great guest for her background. And I'm going to let her talk about it. I won't give you her bio here, but her background is such a solid mix of AV and IT. Specifically on the technical side, including network troubleshooting, that I thought she'd be the perfect, hey, there she is, perfect person to talk about this.
We're talking about you, Alicia. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. How you doing, Matt? Hey, Justin.
Very well
Hey,
indeed.
Alicia. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I was just telling everybody out here that you had an interesting biography, that you've kind of touched a lot of different pieces of the AV industry. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got here and what you're up to today?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been an interesting ride. AV is constantly growing, technology is constantly growing. So, a little background on myself: started out in the house of worship as a sound girl, running audio, and as that space grew, I grew with it. Not only learning the audio side, but learning the visuals that goes into it from a very large production standpoint. And then I became an end user within a pretty large venue facility to where I was running audio, lights, broadcast software, all kinds of things in a whole bunch of different venues under one roof. And I realized that all of my gear lived on a network. And when that transition came, it was kind of an interesting pivot because our team was an AV in-house team, and the people who ran the network over, in another building, if the network went down, they would have to come over from wherever they're at and come and help our team. So I realized learning about the network is ultimately another way to push my career forward to today, where I'm a sales engineer with Access Networks. And I joined this company because I wanted to be with a team that understood AV just as well as IT. And this is a perfect place for me to marry these worlds and also learn the language of IT that, you and Matt were talking about earlier.
So when you recognize that learning about the network is important, what did you do? How did you learn?
So the first thing I did is figure out who was talking about this transition, whether that was at Infocom or other trade shows throughout the industry. And when I first found AV as a whole, as far as an industry, there was a lot of talk of the convergence. And I was like, wait a second, the convergence is already here. I've been using, my audio board has been on the network I've been, using it for 3 years now. So I realized that the ongoing debate, like you referred to Scott's piece, is AV IT, IT is AV. This is an ongoing debate. But I realized if I was going to continue to grow within my career, it was no longer a debate. It was time to learn the language and make the pivot to marry these worlds together, because a lot of projects have both. You can't have one and not the other and ignore IT and love the AV. You have to understand both of those. Even if you're not you're not the IT team, you have to understand the language so you can properly communicate with that team and talk about the problems that are happening in the environment.
That's a huge part of what we try to do in the SDVoE Academy, is just
Right.
enable people to have that conversation. Not everyone has to be, the certified network architect, but everyone has to know who the architect is and how to have a productive conversation with that person. Yeah, for sure.
Right. And that's kind
One
of
of the
what I
other
do in
things
my
that,
day to day.
go ahead.
Yeah, that's
I
kind of
want
what
to
I
talk
do in
about
my
your
day
day
to
to
day as
day.
a sales engineer. Yeah, because I get to work,
Yeah, so
with all different facets of our team. But definitely being able to have those conversations with our network engineers and understand what they're saying and rely it back to a client is super important.
So in that sales engineer role on the network, your job, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, I'm going to put some words in your mouth and you can agree to them or spit them out. But I think your job is right there on the front end of sort of finding out what are the customer's ultimate needs, and then starting to piece together, what are the technical aspects of that system that are going to make the customer's needs happen. Is that a fair assessment?
Exactly. Beyond the sales team that's bringing in the initial sale, I'm a part of the team that's on that front line where we talk about the technical specs of our products and also educate about the technical specs of the products, because that's most important. In the video that I've watched before from the academy that you guys have, you break down that humans are the number one, kind of piece in the puzzle of that network failure,
Of
and
course,
it's
we
true.
weren't
So
referring to
you
sales engineers, of course.
no, but it's true. You have to have that middle person there to describe the design, how things work, and make it a before thought, if that is actually a word, a before thought and not an afterthought. Because when you have that strong core network, then you can build the AV on top of that and have a seamless communication between all of your gear.
This is something that I know Matt emphasizes in a lot of our networking curriculum here. The fact that designing the network up front is the first and sort of most important step in not having problems later. So
Right.
I think the fact that your role even exists reinforces that point.
Yeah, 100%. Usually when I was having trouble, it was because we didn't design the network beforehand. It was kind of an afterthought, and then we realized things weren't working because we didn't have the proper switches or, proper bandwidth. So, it all plays hand in hand.
Any specific war story around that idea, or something that's gone wrong with a network that you've had to scramble and fix before?
Oh, plenty of times, especially in my role as an end user. All of our boards are, sound boards are on the network, and then all of a sudden you realize your internet is out because your board just locks up. You're like, what is happening? And then you realize when you pull back the veil of what's going on behind the switch, do we have enough bandwidth? Do we have enough power? Did we run a cable that's too long as far as an Ethernet cable? All of these things kind of came into play, but I've had lots of times where either my audio board was, we ran cable that was too long, or also, with some PTZ cameras, we had a switch, didn't have enough PoE budget. So there's always a lot of things that played into the space. But one thing I tried to always focus on was signal flow. Just like a specialized audio person or a specialized video person, there is signal flow, and there's no different when it comes to the IT side of our systems.
Okay, interesting. So what are some of the tools and techniques when something goes wrong? What's the first thing you do when you realize the network is down? How do you start the troubleshooting process?
Oh, we call the IT team. No, I'm just kidding. But no, but previously
well, that's good.
In the
That's
past,
another important thing is have their phone number.
Right. In the past, as an end user running into these situations, we always figure out, look at the software. Especially, I was mostly familiar with Dante, and in situations like that, it's very important to make sure things are routed properly, and rehearsals are super important, as everybody knows, especially when you're bringing the IT side of it into your environment. Make sure things work ahead of time, and not just in a live environment, whether it's a conference room, just make sure it works ahead of time, and make sure the network was designed to properly be a strong foundation for whatever systems you're installing. And then also within my new role at Access Networks, when I first started, I didn't really have the background from the IT side. So I would get with my guru, his name is Nathan Holmes. And one thing he asked me when we were troubleshooting switches and stuff, he's like, do you have Wireshark? I was like, what's Wireshark? And that was a tool that just helps you find, your IP addresses. So that's a very helpful tool. And it has been as I continue to build my knowledge within the IT space.
And you may have even seen it pop up in the preview video Matt showed us before. There was a little Wireshark snippet. And in the longer videos, he gets into that a little bit more. So everybody watching, click those links below after the show and check those out. Alicia, that's everything I have for you right now, but stick around because we're going to have you back for the after show where we're going to hear from the audience and hear what they think, hear if they've ever had a network go down. I'm sure that you're the only one here that's ever had that happen. The rest of us are well-trained network experts that would never happen to. So I'll say goodbye for now, but we'll see you in just a few minutes.
All right, Justin.
That was great. That was a really lovely interview. Well done.
I thought so too. And how about that segue from Wireshark to the Wireshark quiz? Like, wow.
Anyone would think you've done this before. You're a natural. And you were only, let me just calculate.
That wasn't me. That was all Alicia. She brought up
word from the
Wireshark.
floor. You were about 17 seconds over, which is perfectly adequate. All right? Didn't he do well? So, guys, no answers to questions yet. We've got holidays and we've got free gifts to give away, all sorts of things. And, come on, they weren't the hardest questions. So, come on, let's get your answers to your questions and let's get some stuff in here for Alicia, Justin, and myself to discuss in the after show, which is great, and that's got free booze at it and all sorts of things. Oh, here we go. Tom cares.
Versus knits. This was easy stuff.
Yeah, this is easy stuff. Although that said, she knows her stuff, doesn't she? Bit of housekeeping, Justin. Do you want to tell people what happens next, the after show, etc.?
Yeah. Those of you watching us live, stick around for the after show, which will be available here in the SDVoE Academy. Those of you watching on demand after the fact, you might be seeing this on our YouTube channel. Find a link below and come over to the SDVoE Academy, where you can watch the after show too and see what happens. See if the audience agrees that networks can go down, or if they realize that no, all you've got to do is have the right gold-plated Ethernet cables and everything will be fine.
We threw some questions up just as a reminder for you guys. There they are. If you just want to, either go and Google it, which you don't really need to do. Come on, the first one, she told you the answer inside that interview. Come on, people. What have we got?
You said it also in the video. We've said it twice.
We said it twice. And do you know what, Justin? People still haven't got the answer right. I don't think they've got the answer right.
Wow.
So,
we'll check in the after show. I bet.
Absolutely. Hashtag SDVoE Live, as Justin's already mentioned, for all of your Twitter comments, please. We've got any Twitter comments, Producer Paul? Anything coming through that we need to see? They've got loads of yeses and millions of them to go through. So, no, there aren't any at the moment, but let's get your comments through. So, next time we see these people, these glorious, lovely people in the SDVoE show world, SDVoE Live, what are we talking about next? Network safety for AV pros?
Yeah, our guest will be Josh Srago. I've started calling him the JD for AV, as he's gone and gotten himself a law degree to become an expert on issues of security and privacy
so we have
surrounding AV. So we're going to have that. That's right. So my attorney will be with us on the next show, Matt. I suggest you behave yourself. We'll be watching.
I'll try. I really will try. So talking of after show, that's coming right up. Is there anything else we need to talk about now before we move on? I don't think there is. You said, Justin. I think are you all ready to go?
I suspect we're going to.
Go on. Go ahead.
Suspect we'll open the nenext show with Josh and an announcement that he is not, in fact, my attorney. I think he's going to want that clear.
There might be lots of caveats. Yeah, we'll have one of those voices at the top going, terms and conditions apply. Lots of caveats written across the bottom of the screen. Right, well, I've got a little surprise to show you, and indeed you. So let's head over to the after show. I think you need to go and get yourself ready, if you don't mind. You nip off and get ready, and I'm going to go this way and get ready, and we'll see you very shortly for the after show. All right, very shortly. Don't go away. All right, see you in a minute.